Here's the next chapter of Manor of Obsession. From writer Obsessed Quill. Manor of Obsession, Chapter 2, Cold Blood, Colder Walls. The dinner continued in unnerving silence. The clinking of silverware against porcelain was the only sound between them, echoing too loudly in the vast dining hall. He didn't speak again, not after placing the necklace around her neck, but he kept watching her, with eyes too intense, too knowing. She forced herself to eat, though her throat felt tight and her stomach coiled. Each bite tasted of dust and dread. The servants stood lined along the walls like statues, their faces unreadable. No one moved unless he moved. No one blinked unless he blinked. When the butler stepped forward and whispered something in his ear, her father gave a slight nod and finally rose from his chair. "You may return to your room. Now," he said, his voice calm. "Rest. We'll speak again soon." She stood, bowed her head slightly like she thought he expected, and followed the servant in silence. Her fingers brushed the necklace at her throat. It felt like a chain. Her room was beautiful, large, with heavy drapes and a grand canopy bed. But to her, it felt like a cage. As the door shut behind her, the silence returned, pressing against her chest like weight. She sat at the window again, knees pulled to her chest, and the memories flooded back. She hadn't cried that day. Not when her mother handed her over like she was a package. Not when she screamed as a gun was raised. Not even when the trigger was pulled. Her mother's body dropped beside her, eyes wide in shock, the life gone in an instant. And the man who pulled the trigger? The same man who had just called himself her father. The same man who had given her dinner and a necklace. The same man whose cold hands had fastened it around her throat like a mark. She hadn't run. There was nowhere to run. The guards, the estate, the deal. It was all planned. Now she was trapped. And though he hadn't touched her since that day, his presence was everywhere. In the silence of the servants, in the lifeless eyes of the butler, in the suffocating quiet of the manor. How do I call him father? She thought, gripping the sheets. How do I live in the house of the man who killed my mother? But she was too afraid to fight. Not yet. Not while she was so alone. Meanwhile, far from the pristine silence of the manor, a man was screaming. The room around him shimmered with reflections, walls, ceiling, and even the floor made entirely of mirrors. He could see himself, the blood, and the man standing over him from every direction. "Please, I didn't mean it," the film director begged, hands trembling. It was just a comment, just a joke. But there was no mercy in the eyes staring back at him. Only quiet fury. "Jokes," the man said, adjusting the sleeves of his dark designer coat, "have consequences." His voice was smooth, calculated, like an actor delivering his best line. This was Oron Velian, the eldest son. Charismatic, brilliant, dangerous. He picked up a gleaming silver blade from a mirrored pedestal. "Do you know what happens when a mirror shatters?" he asked, tilting his head. "You see every ugly angle of yourself over and over again, but I don't like broken things." He raised the blade. And then his phone buzzed. He froze. Pulling it out slowly, he glanced at the screen. His father. His jaw tensed. He answered with a sharp yes, a pause, then a nod. "I'll be there. I'll bring them." He ended the call without another word. The director whimpered, eyes pleading. Oron sighed and pocketed the blade. "You're lucky today." So, as he stepped out of the mirrored room, the lights dimmed behind him. The door sealed, leaving the director gasping in the dark, alive but broken. Back at the manor, the candles flickered. The air seemed colder, and the girl in the window didn't know that something darker was coming. The brothers were returning, and they had never been invited to the main manor before. If you like the story, then subscribe to our channel for more Abdod Maverse, and follow the link down below.